That's just like my American, like, teehee, I don't know.
How long have you been working on dialects and all that?
Oh, that's really interesting. So I started, I've basically done theatre and performing my whole life, basically. I started in primary school. So I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I started taking after school acting classes. And I kind of just started then, like from day dot. I mean, living in New Zealand, most scripts and musicals, they're based in America or Europe. So already immediately we learned to do scripts in American and English accents because that's just where they're based. So I've never had like a dialect coach, like personally, like privately. I've just kind of learned from working and doing shows and
Wow.
learning from other people. So, but I've never had like lessons per se. But in Jersey Boys, we did have a dialect coach come in and just kind of work on our Jersey accents, and yeah, that was really insightful.
So I think something people have a misconception of is, let's say if you're not American, people think, oh, you're dropping let's say in your case, the New Zealand accent and then going into another accent, but really you're just putting on another dialect. I know for me, for years,
Yeah.
it was just a few years ago, I recently realized that Hugh Laurie was actually British. So he's doing this fucking amazing American accent as Dr. House. And so I used to tell people, oh yeah, he's dropping his British accent, but no, he's just doing an American accent.
Yeah,
because,
is that how you see it too? Like you're not dropping anything, you're just transitioning?
Yeah, it feels so natural to me to do like an American accent. I've done it since I started theater, and I've just been doing it ever since. So when I turn it on, it's so natural. I forget I'm doing it until I'm off the stage. So I feel like I'm very lucky to have a New Zealand accent, because I feel like it's very hard to get if you're not like Australian or New Zealand. You know what I mean? Like I find it very not very often I'm able to pick up basically if someone's not from down under.
I agree. It's very hard to do it. I've been trying. David actually nailed an Australian accent.
So I've been working on my Australian accent. It kind of slips into New Zealand sometimes, but it's really all about getting the inflection,
New Zealand, like we have a lot of American TV, like Friends is really popular here, like Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, like we all grew up watching those TV shows. So already Americans right in front of you. And I grew up watching that. And Jersey Boys, we worked with an American, so that was really helpful. We worked with Hayden Milanes. Hayden, yeah.
Okay, how is it Milanes or Milanes? How does he say it?
We said Milanes. I hope that's right. He never corrected us.
It's so funny.
Hayden Milanes.
So many
I hope that's right, Hayden.
So many different Jersey Boys people say Milanese. So many different Jersey Boys people say Milanes. We don't know.
It might be a joke if it's Milanese.
Milanese.
I think it's Milanese.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
It was so amazing to see that.
Yeah.
He was going to play Frankie, because I mean,
yeah.
we all know him from the Second National. Okay, yes. So let's just say there are bootlegs. Okay, bootlegs exist.
Yes.
And there are many bootlegs of Hayden, and so and so it was really, really cool that he got to do the show again in in a brand new place. This was a brand new production, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So was it not a Dodgers theatrical production?
It was G&T, right?
Yeah, no, it was a New Zealand production company that put it on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So could you walk us through your audition process and how you found out about the new production?
Yeah. So where do I begin?
Well, you had done shows with Amici, which then became G&T, right?
Yeah. So I'll start with that. So the year before, in 2020. This was the year of COVID. So
wow, 2020. What a
2020, what a time. I did the production of Mary Poppins with Amici at the time, which is now G&T. So
we saw those pictures. We saw those pictures of point of view picture. It was
we made it into Broadway.com, which was insane. We were the biggest show in the world at the time, and I still can't even comprehend that. Like, we are so fortunate in New Zealand to be in a position where we are still able to put on large scale musicals and productions, because we've contained COVID so well. We had a lockdown for a few months, and that also pushed back our production of Mary Poppins. We were supposed to be in April, which is when craziness happened, so we had a 2-month lockdown, and then after that we kind of had like another month or so of just kind of getting back into like regular everyday life, and then we had another month to kind of get Mary Poppins back to where it was supposed to be, and then we did the show in September, October. People don't come here to see theater, usually people leave to see theater. We leave to study, and we leave to, continue our dreams elsewhere. So for there to be a professional large scale musical touring New Zealand was
wow
crazy. I
and what a show.
And what a show. What a show. Yes, I was actually 19 when I auditioned, because my birthday's in December and I auditioned in November. So I was still a teenager when I auditioned.
Amazing.
Well, happy birthday. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, what was really funny was that the theater that we did Mary Poppins in, which is the beautiful Civic Theater. You said you saw the photos. It's absolutely stunning. It's like a 2,300 seat theater. It's beautiful. The architecture is stunning. Very fortunate to have done it in that beautiful theater. And the auditions for Jersey Boys were around the corner in this other little theater. So I don't know if I remember this correctly, but I think I had a 2-show Mary Poppins day, and I did a show, did my audition, and then I came back and did another Mary Poppins show, something crazy like that. And at the time I was actually auditioning for schools in Australia for this year. So I was actually going to study in Australia this year. I got into the diploma course out in NIDA, which is in Sydney. And then I also got into the diploma course in WAPA, which is in Perth.
And these are musical theater schools?
These are musical theater courses. Yeah.
Okay,
in Australia.
great.
So I'd planned to go over there, and I kind of auditioned for I auditioned for Jersey Boys, just kind of in case I didn't get in, but it was more just because I wasn't super set on moving to Australia during this time. And I think I kind of knew that in my heart. I kind of wanted to stay and really do this show. So I auditioned for the show, and then I actually found out pretty quickly. I think I was one of the first few people to find out, and I found out, I think actually before my birthday, like a week before my birthday, I found out, which was really cool. And they told me that I got Francine. Yes, I auditioned for Francine, and then I got Francine, so I was super happy with that. And yeah, there was actually a few other people from the Mary Poppins cast that auditioned as well that also got in, so that was really cool. And yeah, the process for me was really fun. I obviously knew the creative team because I worked with them in Mary Poppins, so it was really chill. And the New Zealand musical theatre scene is super small, so I knew about 80% of the people that were in the audition room, like everyone else did. So again, it was really chill, really fun. The audition dance we did was obviously Boyfriend's Back, which was really fun. Destiny is our awesome choreographer. She did such a wonderful job. And then Grant Meese obviously was our director, and Zach Johns was our musical director. And I've worked with them all before. So again, really just a really fun process. And then had a callback, and all the boys came in their suits. They asked them to wear like suit jackets for the callbacks. They could practice all of this, and that was really cool. But yeah, that was the process. It was just really fun. And yeah.
Had you seen Jersey Boys before? I mean, how did you hear? How did it come into your existence?
My existence. So it toured to New Zealand, I think like 2012, 2011. It was like the Australian tour. I didn't actually know of it then. But I did know of the musical. I wasn't like super familiar with the storyline, but of course I knew their songs. Who doesn't? Yeah. And I basically just did like as much research as I could before I auditioned, like I usually do. I watched the movie, and I watched like as much of like bootlegs online as I could. I listened to the music and everything, and that was kind of my first like introduction to watching the show, was just prepping for the audition. And Christchurch, which is a city I should say, in the South Island of New Zealand, was actually doing that production in November to January, but this was a different different New Zealand company.
I remember that.
So I flew down to Christchurch from Auckland, and I watched that show. And the cool thing was that I found out I got into the show the day before I flew down. So I was watching the show knowing that I was going to do it in other cities like Auckland.
That must feel so amazing.
It was such a beautiful feeling to sit there being like, wow, I'm going to be able to share this story and do this musical. And it was also a great thing because I could watch my track as well. I could be like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to do that. So it was great. It was really great. And we also did use a few of those people from that cast in our cast as well.
Okay,
so,
nice.
Francine is hardly in the show, and that already intrigues me because her bit is so powerful, right? She's on for one scene and she has that one moment, and I was like, wow, I want to have that moment and see how much I can put into that character in that one scene.
And I love that you want to do that. That's the sign of a pure like actress. You know, you really want to have that challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, they tell you all the time in like, you know, growing up in community theater and theater school, you know, there's no small parts, only small actors.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
and it's I mean, people say, oh, that's something they tell you just so that you could be okay with being in the ensemble, and maybe there's an element of truth to that, but at the same time, it's like, how many
more hits you think you're gonna write?
How many more hits you think?
Yeah.
No, but how many cameos of people, like celebrity cameos, are so much more memorable?
Exactly. Yeah. Keyword is memorable, and
I think Francine's definitely a memorable character, and
she drives act two. You know, like at the end, like she's the reason why Frankie.
She's definitely the idea also that drives act two. Also, not only her character, but like the idea of her character and that person. It's almost like Frankie has put her on a pedestal by the end, you know, that Summers in Jersey monologue, plus Witch, like, you know, but, you know, when he's talking to Lorraine, he's like, you know, my daughter, you know, 4-octave range, she gets up on the table, I can, like, do you watch Doctor Who?
I've watched a few episodes, but I'm not like, you know, I don't watch
so
it.
There's an idea that the Doctor at one point will fly so high, will fly the highest he ever flew, but will fall farther than. And I feel like Francine, the way he pictured her in his mind, like the idea of Francine is different than who Francine really was. And of course, strictly, we're talking about Francine Valley in the show.
Yeah, the
character Francine in the show.
Yes.
Like he made her in his mind fly higher, which then for him made her fall as low as she could.
Right, perfectly
fall.
Metaphorically speaking. With the song. Yeah.
And the way you guys staged it was Francine on for Fallen Angel.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Could you walk us through the phone call scene?
Yeah.
And what your staging was like, and how you were directed, and how you got into character for that scene.
Yeah, I'd love to. So the set was pretty true to the original. You know, it has the spiral staircase, then it has the other staircase. Hayden said it was a bit different in places, but like the general consensus was basically the same.
Okay.
So stage left is where they had Mary's kitchen table and Hayden with the phone and everything, and Frankie, and I was on stage right, under the spiral staircase, and the phone was connected to the set, and the phone, obviously you could pull the phone, there was a cord connecting it, and I could just kind of step out a bit close to the front, because the phone was quite far back. But I came into the scene during his monologue as he's traveling over, so that I could be established before the lights come up, and it kind of seamlessly transitions.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so as he's, if this is the audience and this is the stage, as he's traveling, I kind of walked on into my space as he kind of arrived, so that when the lights came up on both of us, we were both there, which was quite cool.
Yeah.
And then obviously the phone rings, and I'm there, and I'm standing, and he answers the phone. And when I first started this, I played it a lot of different ways. Again, it's a scene with so many types of interpretation, like most scenes. But Grant gave me a lot of freedom. He just said, find what works with you and what chemistry you can connect with Hayden, you know. So I think I first tried it a bit softer, almost like I was apologetic in a way. And that kind of had a nice feel to it. It just didn't make her seem like a bad person. But then I talked to Hayden through the scene quite a bit. Like he called me, and he gave me some of his feedback, and I kind of gave some of mine. And I have a notes of all the things he said, kind of what we talked about. So basically we were talking about how, you know, this is probably not the first time Francine has called home. I think that's a given, right? She's probably called many times, so it's a pattern behavior. So she does this quite a lot. And then obviously the big question is, why is she calling? You know, is she calling for money? Is she calling because she wants to be picked up? Is she calling because something bad's happened? Is she calling because she just wants to talk to her mum, like just wants to hear her mum's voice? So there's so many questions there with where I could go. And already then each of those different questions is a completely different path, right?
Right.
So then we talked about how when I was doing it a bit softer, it made it seem like that there was a severe lack of trauma going on. Like, I feel like if I'd heightened it, which I did in the end, I did make it a bit more like the stakes were higher. It just kind of added that, like, that traumatic kind of energy. And then, oh yeah, so then we also talked about how she could also possibly be like maybe drunk or high at the time, like while she's on the phone. And that could also just add like a super kind of uncomfortable feeling as well in the audience, you know, because it's so different. You know, he's had this big concert, you know, and everything, and he's, you know, everything's really fun and happy, and then there's just like the scene where his daughter comes on and she's, you know, drunk and high basically, and she's, you know, it's just I just feel like it adds a lot of grit and everything.
100%.
And then we sort of ended the conversation with talking more about how just more of the relationship between Frankie and Francine, and how there's an underlying idea that she knows that he loves her, but she
kind of more than
just
she
pushes it away, like or almost that like she doesn't think that he loves her, sorry, but he does, and he's just trying to be like the dad, like, no, you should be home, you know, you can't be doing this, but he's like, oh, but maybe I should be nice, and you know, I need to show her that I love her. And the fact that he didn't do that almost drove her to be like this, because she wanted to impress her father, right? You know, like, as you were saying, she made her seem, you know, so great and so high that she had such a further way to fall basically. And then kind of as the show goes on, he talks about how he starts to call her and kind of gain a better relationship. But obviously in the end, it wasn't enough, and the damage had already been done. And yeah, it ended in tragedy.
Wow. Okay. Well, I love hearing how
so,
you guys think about this. Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Well, I always talk about, like, especially with the Jersey girls, like how the girls really do drive the show, and they are the anchors and the pillars of the show. You know, if it wasn't, as like Frankie had to get past, like when he was younger with Mary, in order for him to move on and try to be more serious about the band, and then Lorraine just to get over all the things being on the road, and then
and like to get out of the neighborhood,
right?
You know,
right? So it's but the scene, and then she's just like, give me a break, you know. It's like that's the ultimate. Like, how did you deliver that line?
What I actually thought was so funny is that line. Can I swear on here? Am I allowed to swear?
Oh, please. Yes.
Great. Okay. So her line, she says, give me a fucking break. You probably already realized this, but Mary actually says that line before My Eyes Adore You, right? So I think when like the cast,
I never put that.
Yes, right?
I knew that Mary said, but I never consciously.
But then Francine says it.
Oh,
right?
Shit.
So we linked that and we're like, oh my God, so she obviously learns from her mother. And that's probably why she's also so like, you know, it's Jersey, right? Her mom's super like, oh, fuck this, fuck you, you know. Attitude, right? Attitude. So Francine's got an attitude. So I think I played with it every night. I mean, you know, I don't think I ever kept the scene the exact same. The feeling was there, but you know, I like to play around with it. I don't really know. I definitely delivered it differently every night. I think I kind of just made like an arc, like I just worked up to it. So that whole line was, what is it? I know you're working, you're slaving away in the road, so you can give us a break, you know. And I kind of just arced it, I think, so that was like the point. And then I kind of brought it back after that line, because obviously I knew that and that gives me a reason to hang up. You know, the fact that he's not giving me he's not giving the phone. I've said this. I've like reached my peak. I've said, you're just like, give me a fucking break now. Give the phone to my mom, and he's still going on. And I'm like, okay, well, he's obviously not going to do that. Hang up. Like, there's no point in me continuing this, which is basically
So was there a certain music cue that you had to hit at a certain time? Like, if you kept like talking over each other?
I think
that's a vamp. I think that I Can't Give You Anything But Love that's playing under it. That's one of the vamps, and so it just so it just stops, and then it's the
dun. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good
Yes.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite sections in the.
Good
I think it
job,
is my favorite
dear.
musical section in the entire show.
I think
Yeah.
I think a funny thing about that scene is that when we did it, so Auckland was our first little season, and then Wellington was our second half of the season. And the theatre in Wellington was a lot smaller. The sight lines were quite bad, so I was a lot further on stage for the phone scene, which was really funny because I didn't account for it. I think it was it was probably one of the first shows we did in Wellington about how far I'd have to go back to hang up the phone. So
Oh no.
I'd like done the scene, I was in the moment, and I turned around to like hang up the phone, and I was like, oh my God, no, I have to like run to the phone. And I actually broke the phone in one of the shows. When I hang it up, like really angrily, I broke the clip. So I like held the phone, and then I like angrily threw it on the floor because I couldn't hang it up on anything because I broke it. And that was funny.
I wanted to comment something on what you said earlier about how Francine was possibly high or drunk when she made the phone call. It's in the movie, her guy,
the bodyguard,
the druggie, he's standing by her, and then she doesn't hang up the phone. He hangs up the phone for her.
Yeah.
Which adds a huge sense of danger.
That's a completely different motive.
Completely different thing. And I wonder in like a newer production if they would add that like sort of on stage cameo character. Like,
no, it's okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, but do you know of any specific changes between like the original script from 2004 into what you all had for your production? Like is anything taken out or added or changed?
Just like from the original?
Yeah, like any line changes. Yeah,
I think our Bob Crewe added a line because it wasn't in the script. I don't know if it was from the original and it wasn't in the script and he added it in. But you probably know. It was after. It's after they're doing in the recording studio. And they sing
for the backup sessions.
Yeah, the backup sessions, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So, such and such. Everyone's sung. Trance is gone, and Bob Crewe's like, no, stop, and Bob Gaudio comes up and says something quite like blunt and brutal to Crewe, and he says, "Whoa, baby Scorpio shows his sting." Is that in the show?
Oh no!
No? Okay, I think he added that. Okay, yeah, he's like, whoa, baby Scorpio shows his sting.
I think like if I'm assuming correctly, it's Bob says, well, maybe you just need to find a new group, you know, because the line after that is like, you all feel this way.
Yes, correct.
I do. I'm with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spice about Crewe. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
See, because I think something comes before that. He says, okay, then listen to this. Either you give us a date when you're going to record us 4 songs that you promised, or we're going down the hall to make a deal with people who keep their word. You know your problem, gentlemen? You've got an identity crisis. Maybe if you find yourselves a name and a sound, little Bobby here would know who he's writing for. And then Bob says, you know what? Maybe you need to find yourself another group.
I think he's like, whoa, baby Scorpio shows his sting. And then he carries
on. I see. You all feel this way? You all feel... Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
It's a really fun moment.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you for that addition. It's so fun.
Seriously, that's sick.
I can't think of anything else that was added, but I'm sure there was some little things.
I'm sure, yeah. Did Grant make it a point to say, like, okay, we're going to try something different than the original? What was his overall approach to directing the show?
I think his biggest thing was just keeping the whole essence of the show. You know, why fix what's not broken, right? You know, the show's most of the stuff was really natural. Like he just kind of said, let's just do it, and let's just try it. And you know, in a way that was really great, just to kind of play, and it was just natural, you know, because all the scenes just fit really well, and just the chemistry was already there. And then he just kind of tweaked things, you know, like, oh, it doesn't work like that, let's just have you walking from back here, things like that. But the scenes themselves were really just like a team effort and how everything fit together.
When it was on Broadway, all you had to do was go across because most of their audience members when they first started were New Jersey people, you know, people who knew Frankie, who knew Crewe, who knew Gaudio, who knew Nick. These are guys who grew up in the same neighborhood, in the same street. So they were like, okay, we know it can play on Broadway, but how do we know it's going to be the same thing around the US, in LA, and like, you know.
And they made some changes.
How did the local audiences in New Zealand, first of all, this is your first the first professional musical theater production. Touring. So how did the audience react to this material that's so American centric, Jersey centric, Italian, and how did you guys come together to really drive that home and keep that legacy going?
Yeah, no, it landed super well in New Zealand. It was talked about all over the country. We received such great feedback and incredible reviews. The audiences got up and danced with us at the end. Like, it was just so, like, almost every night we had a standing ovation, you know. But by Act 2, everyone's really into the show. You know, it opens with Big Man in Town, which is super fun. We had sparkly jackets, and by then the audience had kind of warmed into it a bit more. But yeah, they just loved it. Like, it was better than I could have expected. And yeah, I don't think it was any different than it could have been overseas. It was just as loved and just as appreciated and supported here. We had some dancing in the audience. We definitely had some people jump up and come forward and dance, and that was like, hey, it was great. Yeah,
that's so cool. I love it.
Yeah,
I feel like that might get distracting though for actors. Like, did you ever worry if they'll like hop on stage with you?
No, but actually, now that you bring that up, no, like all of the dancing and like the big standing ovations and the partying at the end was never a distraction, because we just partied with them, you know. We just had like a really fun time in the bows. But there was actually one show where there was an incident happening in the audience, and I think a patron just got quite sick, and they had to like bring some of the staff in, but they didn't stop the show, and that was totally fine. That was the front of house's call, and the person is fine, by the way. We got contact with them, and they're absolutely fine. They just had, I think it was like a heart attack during the show.
Oh shit!
Oh my god!
But they said they were fine. Yeah, and it was during the show, and it was all during like Oh What a Night, and the big 3 concert numbers like Sherry, like it was all.
They must have been just so overwhelmed with wow.
They were just so overwhelmed with all of this magic going on. But yeah, it was happening in like the top circle, and there was just a big crowd, and all the doors were open, so all the light was coming in. So that was like quite distracting for the guys, they were saying. But again, like, we were just so happy that they were okay, but they wanted us to keep going, obviously. But no, like none of the dancing ever distracted us. It was just so much fun. Yeah.
Well, good. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so happy to hear that they're okay. And
yes,
so many
me
people
too.
They kept coming back to your show. We saw in your story.
We had some person come 12 times. We had this one person 12 times. I know.
Between us, between me and Gia, we have seen the show almost 25 times. Tour, Broadway, off Broadway, and I mean, we've seen the movie collectively 175 times. No, it's so we get it.
That's what the show is. Like, no matter where you are, you want to go back and sing it. And like you were saying before, like, the script really does speak for itself. Everything flows, and it's so rare that you have a show like that.
Yeah,
it's just so like the theme of the show. Everyone remembers it how they need to. You know, that's just every like I mean every day. How many times? I know how many times.
I'm sorry, Crewe. How do you hear it?
How many times have you heard someone tell a story different times? You know, depending on how they're feeling that day. You know, like Gia I'm sure you know has heard my stories a million billion times. You know, I'm sure one day I'll tell it differently. You know, just it's how we're feeling in the moment. So like everyone remembers it how they need to, and we talk about how Rick Ellis and Marshall Brickman, they wrote some of these lines that the characters said that you don't really realize how much of an impact they have until, I mean, also another one of the themes of the show, family is everything. Think about the context in which Frankie said family is everything.
It's when he's cheating on his wife.
He's cheating on his wife.
Are you kidding?
He said that to me. That was my character. We always found that so funny because I sang Boyfriends Back. I was the lead vocalist in that song, so I was the girl. I was like, then why get married? And then, you know, he'd say family is everything. And
we're so happy that you guys had to that you guys got to have Jersey Boys out
It
there
was
in such
amazing.
a crazy time, you know.
I remember telling the team that I was so lucky to be able to watch it in Christchurch, because I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't been able to see it, because I would just want to watch it, right? It was so engaging, like even just the transitions, like so quick, like going, like they're just so exciting to watch, and like the music's great, and there's just never a dull moment. I was never not drawn into the story. Yeah, so I'm so happy that I saw it, because I would have been aching to watch it from the other side.
Yes, I would be too. I always need some kind of foundation before I see something. And what's your tracking though? Like, how did that work in rehearsals, trying to figure out exactly what you were doing?
Yeah, so the original cast, I think, is only supposed to have 15, is that correct? On stage?
Okay, so there's 3 girls, 4 guys.
3, 4, 6, 7.
Crew. Norm, Barry Belson,
Jip.
so that's 10. Jip, that's 11.
Hank's character.
Hank
is Joe.
No. Hank. Okay, so I think Hank, Joe. That's already 30. So it's about 15,
15, yeah. So we had 18. We had 3 extra people, which would have been the offstage swings, but they were on stage. So we actually had 4 girls on stage, which meant that we worked so our offstage swing was an onstage swing actually. So we had the 3 girls, Mary Lorraine and Francine, then we had Jessie Lawrence, who was our onstage offstage swing. So all of our tracks were actually completely different. Like I didn't do all my Francine tracks. So I was the church girl, which was supposed to be Lorraine, I believe.
Right.
Yes.
We had the offstage swing doing Boyfriend's Back. We didn't have the Mary character doing that, so that was different.
Okay. Well, that leaves her time to change.
Right. Yeah.
It does. So it was all different. Yeah. So the only thing that was like the same was obviously our characters, and then Francine and me also being the lead in the Boyfriend's Back song. But everything else was different. It wasn't to book, because again we had that extra girl on, and then we also had the 2 extra the 2 extra guys on. So then the boys tracks, like the Hank tracks, and the Jip, who's supposed to be, I believe, the court, the judge.
Yes,
that was
some production. So on Broadway, Jip was also the judge, but on tour and off Broadway right now, not on the cruise, Bob Crewe is the judge.
Yeah, well, our Bob Crewe was the judge. But it was pretty
a lot easier. It seems
like more streamlined, maybe.
It wasn't as as streamlined. Basically, we kind of added those people on edges.
Okay, so it wasn't streamlined. So, but it was more. It left room for more people.
I also have this. If you wanted to see it, it's the program.
Yes.
I'll quickly show you some stuff. So this is our program. It's kind of shiny, and there's G&T on the back. We have our.
Nice.
So in New Zealand, we don't have like playbills, like because
playbills in the West End, right? Also you have to pay for the program.
So like I know that these are like the official show like photo programs, but these are our general programs here, obviously, because we don't have seasons longer than like 3 months. That's completely unheard of. So we can afford to. These are our general programs. I'll flick you through. It's like a little story time.
Please.
So this was our open shot. I'll zoom in for you. So these are our boys. There's Hayden at the front.
Gorgeous.
How Mary Poppins of you. Story time.
Yes, story time. There's just some information there about like the whole story with Jersey Boys and how the group came together and everything. It's a beautiful program. It's my favorite. Those are our creative team. There's our director and our choreographer and musical director.
Nice.
Some little bios about them. And then we start to see our boys. There's Hayden and Fergus Ender, who played Tommy DeVito.
Fergus Ender.
Yeah, he played Tommy DeVito in Christchurch, so he's done this role for about 6 months now.
Wow.
Yeah, and 4 of them who are in the Christchurch production that also did the Auckland Wellington one that I was in. They celebrated their 100th show during, I think, the last week, which was so cool. And then Hayden celebrated 10 years during one of their shows as well. 10! Yeah, 10! We did that, and we did some more.
Nice costume.
Wow. Okay.
Mm.
Well, is that the fall costume that Nick is wearing?
No, so he's holding the
Or-
keys, so
So
that
I
looks like
can't see.
that's
Okay.
summer.
Sorry.
This isn't the key costume. This is just,
Oh,
I think, I actually don't know what that is. I think they just put them on. Would look good.
gotcha.
And then because that's the Chevy is
yeah.
That's right. That's right before. Yeah, it looks like it's right
Yes.
before boyfriend.
Yeah. Oh, this is my favorite. That was them.
Backup session.
Look at those stripes and the wow. Okay, 2 stripes of plaid and polka dots. I like that.
Yeah.
Very bulky.
Yeah. Those were the true costumes. Great. And then there's like a whole group photo with like all of us at the bottom for Oh What a
I
Night.
love those the gold jackets and the gold dresses.
Some close-ups of just like
the
various
Donnie and
scenes.
Stosh. That's
Donnie and
Megan.
Stosh.
Wow.
I
And
love
then
the
the
purple
TV scene.
tablecloths.
Oh, is that Dawn on top?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's like you can kind of see that was for what club is that?
No, so that's
Strand?
the Silhouettes Club. That's Megan.
Silhouette Club.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And that's used twice. That's also used in something else as well.
The Silhouettes Club is Beggin and Moody's Mood.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one. Great. And then we have our cast. So we also had an alternate Frankie Valli, and he had 10 performances that were in his contract. So I think Hayden was only contracted to do 6 a week. 6 a week. And then
6 a week.
Josh Johnson, he was also in the Christchurch production. He did 10 of them. And he's New Zealander. So we had a New Zealander Frankie, and we had our American Frankie, which was Hayden.
Oh, that's so cool.
And this is like our middle page. It's our spread.
Oh,
So there was
look
us.
at that. Oh, okay. Oh, there you are.
There you are.
There was
I
us.
love it.
Bob Crewe.
That's a nice jacket.
There's that photo again.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely jacket.
It's a
beautiful
beautiful
Mary.
program.
Yeah, the dresses are long.
Yeah.
They're past the knee.
Yeah. For this one? Or
Yeah.
for Mary?
Well, both. I
All
mean,
of them.
Mary has that
Yeah.
beautiful,
Oh,
like
really?
almost
Yeah.
Tony, like an Oscar Awards dress.
Yes,
And yeah, no. So
Ah.
the dresses for the angels, they go a little bit above the knee.
Yep, the pink and the Who Loves You dresses are usually white. So
Yeah.
I love
Yes,
that.
they have like fluffy arms and things on. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
our ones were just like gold.
They're gorgeous. I love
Match
it.
the boys. Yeah. And this was again more bios. There's me.
There you are.
Geena Hutton, yay!
Oh, that's such a great photo as well.
What an iconic moment! What an iconic moment!
Oh, and the
Iconic.
red velvet. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I love the
iconic.
wig too. Wow.
Just the general act 1, act 2. What's in there? More photos. There's a Francine moment.
Hey!
Ooh,
Nice
look at
G.
We changed the wig though, fun fact. So I had this for the dress run and then the photos obviously. And I think they changed it because the fringe, she usually has like a blonde wig, doesn't she? Like it was kind of blonde. I've seen a photo.
More like brown.
It's a brown.
Yeah.
along with
Okay.
her.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And the
it's kind of got like a beehive on, but they said it just looked too glamorous. So
Okay.
I
You
got
look
given
great. The jean jacket and the white sneakers, the jeans.
Wow.
It looks great. Oh
the
wow.
light is very bright.
It's very Rizzo, honestly. So I would love to know how G&T
That's basically
raised
it.
the funds for this show. It looks just so, the production value just looks incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had we had investors in the show. Obviously I don't really know how the production side of it worked as much. But yeah, all the set was all built in New Zealand. Most of the props were built. I think a few of them were bought from the Christchurch production, but 80% of them were all brand new. And they'll now be turned into a consortium, which means that it will travel around the country. So other
companies can do it.
we'll basically rent it out and do the show around New Zealand. So I think it'll be going around now for the next like 3 years. I don't think it'll be a full scale professional like we've done, but it'll still like be going around New Zealand for a few years longer. So the story continues.
Yes,
Story continues.
absolutely. Oh, that's so exciting. Yay, well, there's so much to look forward to. Well, please keep us updated on Madagascar. We will share anything that you're working on. We're here to support you, everybody.
Thank you
and
so much.
Yeah, everyone go please follow Geena Hutton on Instagram. Look up the G&T production of Jersey Boys so you can see the memories and see the pictures and they shared some videos and thank you for listening and watching another episode of Silhouettes JB podcast. And
thank you, Geena,
thank you,
so
Geena,
much
for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank
Hasta luego.
you.
Thank you.